Well, friends, we are back at it.
Yes,
Coming
sir.
in hot. Today's going to be a little different. It's been, I don't know if you've lived under a rock like me, but in general, even when you live under a rock, it's kind of hard to ignore everything going on in culture. And so we're going to process a little bit. And so how today's podcast is going to go is we're going to talk about the shootings over the last couple of weeks. Cedric's going to basically update me, inform me on what's going on, and we're just going to process. But we'll see how this goes. I think, I've had a lot going on, and then I think just being in the middle of this dissertation process, I'm having to read history that is re-traumatizing in a certain degree, especially from a spiritual perspective, theological perspective. So I've had to put other things at bay, which is why y'all probably haven't seen me posting much about the trials or the shootings and that sort of thing. But it's because I have to balance that black trauma porn that we've already talked about,
Yeah.
So, but anyways, Patreons, thank you guys for your support and, your kind words. Like, our, Patreons are incredible, and people that are engaging with our social media. If you're new, thank you. It's been encouraging. It's been encouraging to see, even how far some people, like knowing where some people started on this journey and where they are now.
Word.
Catch me up on the shootings, man. I know a little bit. I know, some of the details, the 100,000 foot view, but I haven't gotten into the weeds.
Yeah. So, gosh, I'm trying to think even when I became aware of the one. I was at work, and I've actually been watching a little bit of the Derek Chauvin trial. I hadn't watched any of the previous trials, so I didn't watch the George Zimmerman trial. Yeah. So this is really my first time actually watching one of these trials instead of hearing the summary day after this, that, and the other.
Now, before you get started, you sure you don't want to plead the fifth?
Lord.
Sorry.
Lord.
I did hear about that.
Well, we do know what parts you did catch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
About that. So here I am watching the trial go on as the prosecution is bringing their last witnesses and the defense is bringing their witnesses, and I see something about somebody in a Minneapolis suburb, like, damn, again?
Yeah.
Getting shot and killed by the police. And in fact, I think it was during one of the breaks, and it was on the news. So I was watching this on the television we have in the conference room. And it's the mayor of this town. I think it was, Brooklyn, Minnesota? It's a suburb of Minneapolis. Yeah. And saying that, what happened was really unfortunate and mistake, and and we're being proactive, and we're gonna show the body. We're gonna be full transparency. We're gonna show the body cam footage, and I'm thinking, we're gonna get this body cam footage in like 2-3 days from now, bro. They showed it like within 2 minutes of him saying we're gonna show it. He's like, oh, I think we have it now, and they literally on live TV are showing the body cam footage from what happened the night before.
Wow.
So when it starts, maybe you've already seen it, maybe you haven't. And if you haven't, I understand why you haven't and why you wouldn't want to. Like, while watching the Derek Chauvin trial, every time they show any video footage of the body cam and bystander video, I either turn the channel or I look the other way and I just listen to what is being discussed, because I have still yet to watch the video, and I will not watch the video for my own personal health. So I'm just about to turn the channel as this comes on, but my coworker was like, leave it up. I want to see this. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just watch this. And as soon as it looked like shots are about to be fired, I'm turning away.
Yep.
So it was police car or police officer. You see the car of the kid, Dante Wright, 20 years old. And there's one officer on the passenger side. There's another officer who's in front of the officer who you get the body cam footage of. And he comes up to the car. Kid rolls down the window. You see there's a little bit of conversation going on. Maybe 45 seconds passes, and he's asking him to get out of the car. So Dante Wright gets out of the car, tall, skinny kid. And he basically instructs him to turn around so that he can put handcuffs on him. He turns around. He has his hands behind his back. The guy starts to handcuff him. Now, the other officer, and who knows why, I haven't watched the video since to analyze it or anything like that, comes over to assist with the handcuffs. At that moment, when he comes over to assist, after he's already got his hands behind his back, all of a sudden, Dante whips around, gets loose from the initial officer, and tries to get back in the car. Now, important thing to note, the person who's has the body cam thing has their hands out, and they're holding what looks like a gun.
Right.
Pointed at the car. So already, before they even get up to the car, on a routine traffic stop for expired plates, already got the gun out.
Yeah.
Apparently, kid had a warrant for something to do with $150. It was the amount of the warrant or something. Anyway, I could be wrong about that. Point is, whatever it was that the warrant was for, it was not the kind of warrant that merited already having your gun out.
Yeah.
Right? Apparently, the other thing was that Dante Wright had a air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror because he called his mom, said something to her, man, Mom, they pulling me over and saying something about a air freshener dangling from our rearview mirror. Because apparently in Minnesota is one of the states where it's illegal to have something hanging from your rearview mirror because it could obstruct the driver's vision. Okay. Well,
I mean, I took my black ice down.
Right. We'll get to that one in a second. But then, as he tries to get back into the car, the officer who has the body cam that you're getting their perspective comes over. The other guy's trying to grab him to pull him back out of the car. Doors wide open. And she is like, I'm going to tase you. I'm going to tase you. Then she says, taser, 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 which is what the officers are instructed to shout to let the other officers know I'm about to deploy my taser. Except there's one problem. That's not her taser. 17. It was her Glock 17. And she fired one shot right into the chest of Dante Wright. He gets in the car right after, because he's already seated, gets his legs into the car, speeds off, and you see, again, perspective of the shooter, who Officer Potter, but I can't remember her first name, goes, oh my gosh, I shot him. And all the officers are looking at her like, what? And it cuts.
Oh, because she tapped the thing off.
Right.
I saw the cop do that last night.
Right.
He turned it on, turn it off.
So he drives a few blocks, crashes car, girlfriend in the car, covered in his blood. They go over, they try to administer CPR, he dies. And obviously, the biggest issues here is that, let me rewind that back. So my immediate thought was, she's either a rookie or just plain incompetent. Like, how are you gonna mistake your gun for a taser? And in the press conference, they say officers are supposed to carry their pistol, their handgun, on their dominant hand side and their taser on the opposite side. My other thing I'm thinking now, I've never held a gun in my life.
I have a lot of guns.
My assumption would be that in your hand, the weight of a gun is going to feel significantly different than the weight of a taser.
I haven't held a police taser, so I don't know the texture. Like, I don't know what it would. But there's a difference. Like, if you have to shoot a gun enough, especially as a cop, that many times, like, your hands should be familiar, despite adrenaline or whatever.
Right, because even if you're not shooting, because a lot of officers, to be fair, never in their career ever actually use their gun. But it's not like they don't get training to use the thing. That's what we have shooting ranges for. Right?
Yeah.
So they can practice and be prepared if the time ever comes.
Right.
So then to come find out she's a 26-year veteran.
Ooh.
And is someone that actually trains other officers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So she has since...
She's been relieved?
She resigned.
Oh, well, there we go.
The captain, or the chief, also resigned. The press conference was interesting to begin with, because the mayor saying some things.
Were they the ones with the... They had a black police chief?
No, they had a black mayor.
Mayor?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Black mayor.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the black police chief is the police chief of Minneapolis.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Was a witness for the prosecution.
Yeah.
In the Derek Chauvin case.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're back to normal America.
Basically, because we've had that. We've had a couple of mass shootings.
People back in cages.
People. Well, yeah, that thing's a whole mess as well. We're running out of space in the detention centers that we had. The difference is that they're trying to process them faster, so they're not having to be basically locked in these detention centers for too long. The other difference is whereas the Trump administration was separating children from parents, we've had an influx of unaccompanied minors.
So
it looks just as bad as it did during the Trump administration. It's different, but at the same time, like, something needs to be done. There's a big argument about whether or not the Biden administration being slow to resolve this issue has to do with the fact that they either didn't take the advice of the leaving Trump administration, or the Trump administration withheld information that didn't allow for them to come in and be prepared to resolve the issue more timely.
So they're caught with the pants now?
Basically. I believe both is true.
Yeah. I heard that from, because, I've been, for the most part, completely under a rock, but some of the stuff, like, I've heard Cornel West's take on this, because I'm using a lot of his material to undergird some of my frameworks, and I heard him mentioning some of that and just his criticisms and
and it's spot on. And again, the difference is, aside from saying, hey, we didn't have all the information, there's just a difference in tone of how the criticisms that are being leveled is being embraced, which is refreshing. And it's sad that we even have to say it's refreshing, but you got this whole situation where it's like, again, and then we have to go through this whole thing yet again with people where we're having to negotiate the value of Black life. Where, it's the same things again. Shouldn't have resisted.
Yeah, Yeah, man. There's so much I can say because it's all running together. That case, that excuse, listening to the rationale behind George Floyd, like people literally arguing and trying to come up with a solution to essentially say that the cop is innocent. And then the Columbia, South Carolina thing with the sergeant, the military guy in the neighborhood. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to handle and process.
Right. And then not all that was even before we got to Adam Toledo.
Yeah.
13 years old.
Yeah.
13 years old. How much you know about that one?
Not a ton. I know it's 13 and I was in Chicago and I was like, I can't, I can't do it.
Yeah, I didn't watch the video that one.
I can't do it.
Man, I'm not watching the video that one at all. I mean, the little bit, even from what you can see from the still frames, that one is, look, it's at night.
Yeah.
So they got their lights to go with the body cam. So you get a clear view. And so to rewind, somebody made a call about shots being fired in this neighborhood, about somebody shooting off a gun. Apparently, the person who was shooting off a gun was some 21-year-old guy who was just showing off the gun, wasn't shooting at.
Kind of like what happened to me last night.
There you go.
Out at a restaurant, waiting for a table. Some knucklehead kids come in, knock somebody over, get an altercation, pulls out a gun in front of everybody in the restaurant, and a little kid right there. And then they run out.
Right. So the kid, who was, I guess, the one that the guy was showing it off to, all this kind of stuff, which of course led to, and I don't know, and again, it doesn't even matter, but the spin doctors, the kid was gang affiliated. He was living that life. Like, bruh, whether or not he was living that life or not, the fact of the matter is he ran. They gave pursuit. When they caught up to him, they ordered him to turn around and show his hands. He turned around, lifted his hands, and then they shot him. Now, this happened on March 28th. The video wasn't released until 2 days ago.
Which is
Right, but the prosecutor had been saying, the kid was armed. Saying it was a justified shooting because the kid was armed. But then the video shows basically the prosecutor lied. Which gets to another whole dynamic of this when we talk about it's not just a policing issue, it's a criminal justice issue when the prosecution, the city prosecutor, is also providing cover for law enforcement shooting unarmed people unjustly.
And then they're protected by the police union.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of different cogs in the engine that protect and allow for this stuff to go on unchecked.
Yeah.
Right? So, kid's been shot. He dies. They try to administer CPR, but he's dead. And then again, shouldn't have resisted. Shouldn't have ran. Bro, please go on YouTube.
I'm here right now.
Go on YouTube and just, put in your search, open carry.
Yeah.
How many videos of white people walking around in Targets and Burger Kings and you name it, public places down the street with assault rifles and will stand there and tell the police officers, I have a right to open carry and and these are my rights, these are state rights. And here's the thing, they're not wrong.
Right.
The issue is the fact that they even have the opportunity to state what their rights are without getting gunned down immediately is proof that.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. As a concealed weapons permit owner, somebody who's licensed, I still fear carrying out in public. Because even though, it's lawful, it's on my license, you track all this stuff, I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to risk it. But on the flip side, it's like, yeah. So, anyways,
Right. But I mean, to your point, because there was that half joke, half true. If we actually want to get guns abolished in America, then it's going to require black people, like all black people, registering for a gun license and buying a gun. Then they'll actually start to do something, right? Because, I mean, we've seen it before. Black Panthers go up to the State House in California. Next thing you know, Ronald Reagan pushes through a gun ban in the state of California.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, we don't have time to get into the whole history of the Second Amendment, why it exists. Short version is gun rights were never meant for black people.
Right.
They were meant to defend against black people.
Right.
We were never meant to have the same gun rights as people deemed right in this country.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, we get seen with a gun, we dead. So after the Philando Castile, who did everything you're supposed to, and he gets shot and murdered, and the police officer gets off, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm not ever purchasing a gun. I'm not ever having a gun on me. Right. I'm not giving them another reason to assume that I'm some guy with bad intentions. Right. That I'm just another, not doing it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like, oh, you shouldn't carry, you shouldn't have a concealed weapon. Like, that's just me.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah.
Man, this sucks. This sucks to hear. And like I said, I haven't been completely under a rock, but I haven't allowed myself to hear the details. And a part of that's like just I don't want to become completely numb and cynical. But also I don't know how much I can and cannot do.
Right. I'm at a point where I'm just I don't want to consume these things, which is what I hear you saying. But also, I gotta admit, I wasn't like terribly upset, distraught, dismayed. And I know that may sound bad or callous on the surface, but it has become so maddeningly commonplace. And we could have predicted as soon as things started to lift with the COVID restrictions, we could have predicted that this stuff would pick back up. Because no substantial change has been made to prevent it from happening. Because, and here's what I went back on the Campaign Zero website, which is D. Ray McKisson, who's a big activist, and his campaign to basically end police violence. And they had previously had 8 different areas that they said, hey, these are the areas we need to work on for there to be substantial change. So we get police violence down to unnecessary, police violence down to 0. They've actually flagged 3 of the things that they previously had as solutions because they said as they've continued to do research and watch trends and see what's happening, that there's no evidence that shows those previously proposed solutions actually make a difference. And one of them was training. Training and implicit bias training. Which for me, just watching the Derek Chauvin's trial, then this thing with Dante Wright, then Adam Toledo, I have actually reached that point where I've gone from defund the police to abolish the police. Because I'm like, giving them less money isn't gonna work, especially if we're starting to get the receipts back on training that also is saying it's not making a difference. We need to abolish the system of policing that we have and build a new one.
I don't think that's happening.
No. But here's the thing. It could.
Yeah.
It could happen. But the people who don't even want to consider it as an option will automatically go into, oh, that's anarchy. That's just... bro, what you think we got right now? Yeah. It just don't affect you.
Right.
It just don't affect you.
Right.
And it's also fascinating to me that the people who are also the ones that are quick to remind you or warn you about anarchy are also the same ones who are quick to warn you about the police state. Which, come on, let's just call a spade a spade. Y'all don't... Look, police state, you guys are perfectly okay for black communities and communities of color to have a police state presence in existence where we can be killed on the spot for anything, and it is justified. Like, the Fourth Amendment has completely been stripped down, which creates the opportunity for police agencies across the U.S. to do what they did with Dante Wright, which was a pretextual stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you because of expired plates or this air freshener dangling from your window, but I'm basically using that as a pretext to search for illegal drugs, guns, or something else that I can then give you a citation or a ticket, maybe a misdemeanor. Now you have been entered into the criminal justice system, and now we can keep tabs on you, but we can also prevent you from, what is the thing that we always tell people on this podcast? Because it's been a minute, so let's give them a little fresher. Look, white supremacy is okay.
Yep.
It is totally fine with the presence of black people.
Yep.
It just don't want successful black people.
Yeah.
They don't want black people who are securing the bag.
Yep. Or like confident in who they are.
Right.
And uncompromising.
Right. Right. Unless they're comfortable in their having taken on whiteness.
Yeah.
Or put on whiteness, I should say.
Yeah. I've had to disconnect, man. And a part of it is grieving the loss of these lives. The other part is so that I can protect myself from being traumatized, and then having to read or see posts from people that it's like, but you're not doing anything to change it. Like, you still support, like, you would never support the idea of abolishing the police and recreating it or defunding the police. So, like, and then, like, your lives, like, I think I said this, like, your lives aren't authentically matching your words. And you are actually a part of the problem. So, again, but I have people in mind that feed into that.
And in between that are the people who, again, some of these folks have only been on this journey for basically a year. For them, the breaking point was... I mean, you could almost make a chart, right? Yeah. People whose breaking point was Trayvon. Other people whose breaking point was the latter half of 2014. So that's Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, John Crawford III. Yeah. Then you got other people whose breaking point was Philando Castile. Yeah. But then you had this pause where quote, nothing happened until last year with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd.
I'd say you just not been paying attention.
But, you know, in fairness, again...
It's not been... not necessarily to the national, like, magnitude, like, of it being nationally promoted, but, like, there's some stuff that definitely happened.
Right, but I feel like I'm, like, defending them. There's ones that happened, but there were ones that, for whatever reason, the video that we had and the perspective of the video and the gruesomeness within which it was done was not on the same level.
Fair.
Of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna and George Floyd. And the fascinating one about Breonna Taylor is there's no actual video, but the words of it is enough for people to be like, no, that's not right. Yeah. But in concert with the other ones, I think they had this
that's fair.
effect. So, yeah, there's people at different parts. So people who only got on board just last year, or last year was their breaking point, there's still some folks who are sincerely, what do we do? Like, what can I do? Like, I recognize that posting things, sharing things isn't enough. What can I do? And that's where I'd advise everybody to go and look through the entire Campaign Zero website. And then think about, how can I be a part of a movement in my region, my city, to do that? Because here's the mistake that we often make. Right, because we just had a presidential election. So,
did we call it that? I'm sorry. I'm in my bag today.
We had the presidential election. So you got a lot of folks who, as we said right after the election, we're about to find out who were the people that were just anti-Trump and who were the people that are really truly anti-racist. Yeah. Because the people who are anti-Trump, now that Trump's gone, they're going to go back to business as usual.
There's been a lot going back to default.
Right. Yeah. But there have been some people
that have progressed
forward beyond just being anti-Trump and are really starting to move into the anti-racism thing. And they're starting to recognize that just sharing posts and different things and reading books aren't enough, and they need to do more. And that's where I'm saying, go and, like, not just read these books that, again, keep it on an individual knowledge level and an individual, what work internally do I need to do myself, but then what does that look like on a political spectrum? And it's not through the federal branch, it's through local government.
Yeah.
That's where the work has to be done.
Yeah. And then how do you work through that? You know, when you have local governments where it's just as bad. Like here in Charlotte, like the money we give the, CMPD.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Right. But,
and mind you, it's a majority black office. Which is why,
But who are the ones, again, like our mayor, when it comes to police contracts, police unions, and basically anything having to do with the police, she's basically powerless. She has no authority.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas I think it's city commissioners, and it's different for each city, but I think it's city commissioners who are the ones that we need to apply pressure to.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point. Like, find out what that looks like in your particular area and start to apply pressure, write legislation, propose different bills. Like, find out who are the people that you can join with in that work and pushing it forward. Or if the work is already being done in your city, to support it. Because, this just happened in Maryland.
Yeah.
Just happened in Maryland.
Yeah.
They had the biggest wide sweeping police reform bill passed, which of course the response was like, looks like we're not going to be able to do our jobs, which, when police officers say, oh, well, you know what? We're just not going to do our policing. You know what that means? That means we're not going to continue to do the pretextual stops that we had been doing to basically get people thrown in on the system. We believe that by us stop doing our pretext stops over policing black communities, that you'll see the true nature of these black people when they tear each other apart.
Yeah.
Because, Leo, they ain't pulling back from the way they police in white neighborhoods in the suburbs. Why? Because they don't even police those neighborhoods the same way. But it instills fear in those people who then hold the line.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they just give speeding tickets out and make deals to, not throw the kids who got high or drunk in jail.
Listen.
They get their extra money.
Right.
So, again, like for those of you who may be new to the podcast, we've talked about these past events, and what you'll see is, like, I think it was an early episode of Black Trauma Porn that we did, and that's kind of where I'm at. I've made a decision. Like I can only do so much.
Yes.
And you have to, as you're processing this. I don't care what color you are. I'm not racist because I don't see black, yellow, green. Anyways. You know, it's
polka dot. I'm like, is that acne?
Polka dot, is that really acne?
Somebody have a severe acne?
Yeah. But you have to really do what's best for you and protect yourself. But it doesn't, like, you can't use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I might not be watching the trials intensely or following the details of the stories or anything, but I'm empathizing.
Yeah.
And I'm getting my own dose of trauma in other ways. Like, I just watched the series of Them series on Amazon Prime, and I'm on my second time through, and I felt like that was, to some degree at least, is somewhat fictional, and I don't have to process like real people dying right now in this video.
Yeah.
Movie or docu. I don't even know what you'd call it. Series.
It's a TV show.
Yeah. Versus having to unpack a real life, yet again dying at the hands of police, and then the guy in Colombia, that poor guy. That man, like, I can't imagine living in a neighborhood being told no, you don't, and get the hell out. And you know,
when we've had our dog now for 2 years.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long. Perfect timing too, because Lord knows his calming presence in the midst of lockdown.
Fair.
But so we've now lived in our house 2007, so coming up on 14 years. So the first 11 years really didn't do a lot of walking through the neighborhood. So now that we have Cobby, walking all the time.
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie, that was on my mind. What is the likelihood that someone is going to see me? Because I live in a area where the residents, 98% are white.
White people.
Right. Only 2% are people of color. So what's the likelihood that someone's going to see me and think I don't belong there and be suspicious of why I'm there? And fortunately, it hasn't happened. But I'm thinking about what happened to that kid who lives in that neighborhood and has this army sergeant,
like, checking him
right
in his face,
ready to fight him. And I'm like, I'm not a fighter at all.
Yeah.
But yo, I might be real tempted to swing on dude.
Yeah. And I don't know, was it another black person filming it, or was it his
was
wife?
a white girl. It was a girl in the neighborhood who lived there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I saw that video. I saw parts of that video only because, you know, I was talking to some friends in South Carolina who, you know, one guy knew him, black guy knew him, you know, and yeah, it sucks, man. Like, I'm tired of writing songs about these things. I'm tired of posting about them. I'm tired of feeling helpless. I'm tired of saying, well, dang, like, I can't go running in my neighborhood. I can't have apparently an air freshener hanging from my window. Yeah.
And see,
it's tough.
I'm just like, I'm not going to let that stuff stop me from living my life. And the chance that happens to me,
I have to stop not engaging, but like not engage on a certain level so that I don't stop.
Right. I guess, let me put it this way. For so long, I was so subconsciously aware of my blackness in white spaces and always trying to accommodate white people's need for safety.
Yeah.
That I'm just not doing it if I don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not. And so a good example, and I've been working with an organization at a site where it's in a black neighborhood. Most everybody that I'm around every day is black, and it's black young people.
Yeah.
Surrounded by black excellence, but it's just a diversity of black people.
Yeah.
Right? And I love it. It's been healing and nurturing for my soul. And we had I work with a bunch of teenagers, and we had our training when spring finally broke. So we went over to Freedom Park, and we were going to do our training there. But it was so nice, we just ended up hanging out. And so here we are in Freedom Park, which, as you know, like that's one of the more diverse spots in Charlotte, where you see people of all different colors. But it's still a large. It's in an extremely affluent neighborhood, predominantly white and wealthy.
Where we can't buy houses, but anyways,
right. So I just remember being aware of how, for the first time, I'm in this space where we're out in public and we're not in a predominantly black space. We're not in our neck of the woods, our turf. And being aware that previously I would have subconsciously been policing the blackness of my students in that space.
Wow.
And how liberating it was to be there at Freedom Park, recognize that that had been my default setting previously, and being like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not about to police, in essence, who they are.
Yeah.
In this space.
Yeah.
And I'm going to not only make sure that they are safe to be them full selves, I'm going to be my full space self in this space as well.
Yeah.
Without trying to police how loud they are, how much they're running around or doing this or doing that. No, I'm not going to police blackness in this space for the sake of whiteness or our quote safety.
Right. Man, that's so good. And that again, like, there's so much healing in that. And I agree, because I feel like I've had to do that as well. Like, just really, that's a part of the deconstruction process of whiteness and supremacy and
having been tokenized.
Yeah, being tokenized and seeing your own, like, trauma in that, right? And then the trauma of how you view yourself, how you view other black people. And if anything in 2020, I learned, especially during this COVID, it is like acknowledging those real issues. And no matter, like, that's the beautiful thing about this anti-racism journey, is that, like, it's always all about evolution of the mind and of the heart, and liberation of the mind and of the heart. And, I think, I just affirm, like, that progression, just to think, like, 2 years ago of where we were when we just basically started this, and you entering into the urban promise space, and, like, where you are now, like, that is incredible. Yep. That's very incredible. And, man, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah.
So we're going to end it on a positive note for all of our haters, who I'm sure are glad we're back too, that like to criticize us for not, pushing the unity button more often, or, putting a positive spin on things.
Yeah. I mean, that whole unity thing, and I'll say this about it, because I'm kind of on this kick, and I'm going to figure out a way to continue to flesh it out. But, like, we're never going to have unity, and, like, you can't expect unity when you still have the same, like, oppressive mindset. Like, and you still affirm the same racist ideas and the same philosophies and the same principles. Like, you can't want a multicultural church and still, like, your theology and beliefs hinge on the words of anti-Semitism, like Martin Luther and Calvin, right? Like, that's a very hard case to make of forward progression.
Right. As I like to say, you can't have unity for unity's sake.
Facts.
Unity for unity's sake, that ain't unity. That's just a half.
You can have it for the sake of uniformity and being multicolored.
Well, and that's what unity for unity's sake basically creates. Right. It's uniformity.
Right.
So, yeah, no thanks.
I'll pass.
Hard pass. Don't mean we can't live, quote, civilly with one another.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to be unified and in intentional community with people with whom the dignity of other human beings needs to be negotiated or is for sale. Just not doing it.
Yeah. And my 2020 lesson is like, it starts with yourself. Don't compromise that. Even within yourself, like hold yourself to that standard and that accountability, and like regardless of where you may be spiritually, like I had to learn how to release the guilt of feeling like I wasn't pouring into people like this information, and like just being able to release it, say I'm not responsible, and I'm not going to continue to traumatize myself in the process.
Right.
And so knowing what you can and cannot handle is absolutely necessary.
And man, evangelicalism will do that to you because you're always supposed to be spreading the word. Spreading
the word, right. And
producing.
Right, yeah. And yeah, you just can't do that, man. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at a post on Facebook about the Columbia thing. Someone says I stand for justice and unity, but I'm like, but you're not. But you're still affirming and leading a multicolored church with like white supremacist theology.
Yeah, that's a journey to even see that.
Yeah.
But to your point, we don't have the time to be rescuing everybody.
Yeah.
That's why they can come check out the pod,
That's the beautiful thing is like we can't. I had to learn. I can't rescue people, and also I have to remember that I was in that place.
Yes,
like you have to always go back to where you were, understanding where people are,
right.
so that you can stay accountable in like your journey of empathy,
right. And if you don't have compassion on the place where you previously were, then you're also going to be unable. When I say you're, I mean like me, start with myself. If I'm not able to have the compassion on my former self and what I didn't know, then I'm not going to be able to have compassion on others who are where I used to be.
Yeah.
Because instead of seeing them as some kind of opposition or obstacle, I see myself in them, and I extend to them the same compassion that I extended to myself.
Mm-hmm. And I think that posture of what we're communicating is like when people think we're very critical.
We are.
Like but it's because like for me, at some point I saw like beautiful parts of the person or the organization, or there are certain things that like that I say out of love, harsh love. At times, but but I think it's to ultimately edify the body and like want to see everybody healthy and free.
But we're not critical for critical sake. We are critical because we are seeing something that poisoned us and that we see poisoning others, and so we're going to again call it out. And I would once again point to reading the Gospels. Jesus was doing this constantly. And that's what in essence got him in trouble.
Yep. So if you want to be more like Jesus, then
critique the system and live in a way that critiques it. Don't just speak criticism of it, but live in critique of it. But don't just stop at critique, also create. Create something new.
Yeah. Man. Well, there you have it, folks. Real-time processing.
You're welcome.
Real-time processing. So, again, thank you to our Patreons and our friends for your support. Continue to like, rate, review us. Spread the word. Get people. Go back and listen to some old podcasts, because I'm sure this new season we're going to be referring to a lot of things that if you hadn't listened to, you might not understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, so you better get caught up.
Go back. Refresh your memory.
Listen to it on 1.7 speed. 1.7
if you're on Spotify, 1.5 if you're on Apple.
Yep.
I can't really speak for the other ones, but all right. I guess we'll catch you guys later.
See ya.
Peace.